Hey everyone, welcome. We're going to start right at the top of the hour in about 2 minutes from now. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be. Before we get started, real quick, I just want to give a disclaimer that this AMA with Robert today is going to be recorded. We hope to place it somewhere on our socials in a couple days. And I also mention it in case you do not want to be recorded while answering a question. That's up to you. I just wanted to put it out there. Hey, I am very excited here to be joined on the stage with Robert Weir, the COO of Jigstack and Stackverse, one of my co-ambassadors here. Just a little bit about what the format of this AMA is going to look like. We are going to go through an introduction. We will go to some pre-submitted questions that you all went into Discord and added there. Then we'll move on to a live question. It'll be an opportunity for anyone who's joining today to ask Robert whatever you would like, and then we will conclude. If you've been in Discord, you'll see that we got a lot of pre-submitted questions, so I want to kind of keep my introduction short. I'll pass it over to Stack first. He can introduce himself, and then we'll move on with introducing Robert and getting to the meat of the AMA today.
Hey, Graz. Good morning and good afternoon to you, Robert. Really excited to be here with you today. It's your first interaction with the community publicly, so it's going to be a big one. We got a long agenda to go through, so let's just dive into it. Really quick, Robert, why don't we get started with a little bit of your introduction? So can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey guys, yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, to the community, I'm glad to be here finally. Originally I wanted to potentially come out after the wallet, just to talk about the next stages of Jigstack going into the future. But obviously with some of the situations that come on, I thought it'd better be idea to come on now. And yeah, just a bit of a background on myself. I've been in startups going on probably 12 years now, building my own, majority of them in e-commerce, from the ground up, sorry. And then I kind of got into crypto in 2016, was part of the whole 2017 hype, learned a lot from that, and always just thought to myself, I'd love to get into this, with my own company, and what would I actually do? So, I went around, seeing what other people were doing, and it was such a disconnect from standards, all across the space. And I just thought, what would be awesome if someone could build, something in DeFi, that basically had the standard of Microsoft, a suite of products underneath, all pushing revenues back to one signal company. And and then on top of that, I fell in love with DAOs, where they're going, making a company completely decentralized and self-governed. And yeah, that's kind of where we came up with the idea. We brainstormed the products we wanted to sit. IDOs and launch pads were super hot, so we jumped on that. Obviously, if we want to be a self-governing company, we needed something like a staking platform. The wallet was obviously another one that was pretty pretty standard, but we wanted to do something different. So the gifting solution, which we call Santa, that's the game changer for us. And then Ethlink, which is the affiliate software that we're hoping to bring out next year. And then NFTs popped up, so we kind of jumped on the NFTs and tried to capitalize on that as well to end our suite of products. We've been working hard. Team's grown, so we've had our hurdles. We've had our issues, but we're learning. We're growing. And we're super excited what's coming in Q4 and obviously what's coming in Q1, Q2 as well.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I saw on the Twitter just this week a little snapshot of what one of the Santa screens looks like. So I definitely feel like we're getting close to seeing Santa. And we're going to dive into JWallet and Santa a little bit later in the questions.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, Robert. So real quick, Jigstack has a grand vision, right? I mean, we all, I'm sure the community will concur with this. We all got really excited and still are very excited with the vision that Jigstack put forward, and is trying to accomplish a really long, ambitious roadmap, right? But when focused on the day-to-day work and interim milestones, sometimes we tend to forget the ultimate goal you're working towards. So it's great that you are here as a CEO. As a COO of the company, I'd like you to reiterate what the vision of Jigstack is, and what are the key metrics that you personally are using or tracking to measure the performance of the company.
Yeah, great question. So the end goal, although always evolving, is to make this community governed, like this whole company with all these suites of products, completely controlled by the community, not a hierarchy system or a central government. And that's still our main focus. In terms of the metrics that I do towards that is obviously what you guys are doing, like the community day to day, the feedback you give us, whether it's criticism or it's compliments, negative, positive, we take it all in, to improve and to get closer to that. One thing I think hasn't been reiterated to you guys is the fact that we've also been working with a lawyer who specializes in governance law and loves DeFi. So he's helping us build the pillars or the steps we need to take to get to that goal. And that will be released later in the year. We'll release our DAO Roadmap. And although it is a roadmap, it won't necessarily be time stamped, or it'll be more step by step with criterias. And as a company or a team and a community, we have to accomplish getting through all those criterias to get to the next stage. And that could be that from stage 1 to stage 2 could be a lot longer than stage 2 to 3, and vice versa. But yeah, a lot of that will be explained before the end of the year as well.
Great, thanks for the answer. I think it's really very exciting. I think the DAO of DeFi vision, that's the one that got me excited too, and also the part of the vision where we talk about multi-chain, DeFi products. So that's also another really interesting aspect of the vision. So, well, thanks for answering that.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, multi-chain is where we want to go as well, 100%. I just wanted to add that in right at the end. Sorry.
No worries.
So before starting with our community questions and the live questions, let's now talk about some of the milestones that Jigstack has achieved so far. When you look back on what you've done since the beginning, April, really only a few months, what are some of the things that Jigstack has accomplished.
Yeah, so, going back, although, it seems a lifetime ago since April, to be honest, working day in, day out. But, going all the way back to then, pre-public raise, we obviously had quite a lot of opportunities. A lot of people wanted to do our IDO, some big companies, but, we wanted to put our kind of money where our mouth was, right? We're building a launch pad. Although it wasn't ready, we were making sure, as long as we could get it secure, and to a standard that we could run our own launchpad, we were always going to do that. So being able to do that, that was quite significant early days. Obviously bringing out Stakbank was a super accomplishment for us. I understand that there are a few issues, like any product, but on a whole it works. And we're working hard to make sure that the bugs or the hot fixes are going to get fixed in the time frame in the next month or so, and then version 2 will be a lot stronger. JStack will be a lot more kind of more central, and have its own kind of dashboard, and then also you'll be seeing a lot more burns, a lot more revenues coming in as well. From that, obviously our IDOs, the 2 IDOs that we launched, both successful, both sold out. Obviously the first one sold out in just under or just over 3 hours. The second one, within 90 minutes. Again, we say they're successful, but yes, community feedback was taken. There's a lot of opportunities to improve, and we're aiming to do that. I'd also like to take this time now to let you know that we've got another IDO that we are going to be launching on the 25th. The guys will give you more information about that, but that's just been locked in. And, with some of the feedback you guys have given us, we're going to obviously take that into account and, make sure there's more opportunity for our stakers on, the lower tiers. And then, although Gallery isn't launched, it has its hiccups, it's close, and then rounding out, by the end of the year, the 4th product, that's a pretty solid, not even 1 year that we've got through, and a good base to build on. And, next year will be all about, integrations, cross chains, and then, adding more users, and, building the ecosystem, building in the revenues, and moving towards further stages down our DAO roadmap.
To hear that IDO is coming. You mentioned on the 25th. Is that November 25th?
Yes, sorry, November 25th.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, because I could see the success of the IDOs that we've done so far with Transient and Depot, and being able to get in on some of these incredible DeFi projects on the ground floor is definitely the vision that I saw from Jigstack's product Lemonade. So it's great to hear another one is coming.
Yeah. And just to reiterate, it's not like one gets thrown at us and, we go up. We've had lots of applications come through, just weren't hitting that standard that we want. And this one's obviously come through. Team solid, they've done their raise, they've got their white paper, they've got a clear roadmap, and they're developing their product. So again, I'll let the team probably do it. They want to do their whole announcement side of things, and I don't want to get in the way of that. But yeah, I asked them if I could at least drop the date, on you guys, because I wanted something for you guys who all attended. Probably the other thing that we could probably speak about, I think we could potentially talk around when we talk about Stakbank, but we'll also be doing our burn today as well. Our first burn.
Nice. I know that the community's been asking when burn for a while, so that's huge. It's great. So we're gonna dive into the pre-submitted questions here, and just for the people that are on the call, we went through all of the questions that were under that Robert AMA question thread, and we kind of put them into different buckets depending on each product or each situation or each comment that you had. So we're just going to kind of go through the buckets, and I think it'll give Robert a chance to talk individually about each part of the ecosystem and each part of the questions that you guys have. So I'm just going to dive right into it. And, one of the most common questions I see, not just on Discord and not just on Telegram, but also on every single social is when CEX? I know it's on the forefront of everyone's mind. I know people like to think that CEXs bring a lot of exposure to the project. They let retail invest without having to pay some exorbitant Ethereum gas fees. It brings more volume and it kind of solidifies any project, including Jigstack, as a real deal project. So the question from the community to you, Robert, is where do we stand on a tier 1 CEX listing?
I knew this question would come. So, look, just straight out at the front, we are talking to highly regarded exchanges. Obviously, everything's confidential until they confirm listing. But what I can probably tell you guys is a little bit. There's two main ones we're speaking to right now. The first one, we've basically gone through all their applications. We're past everything. It's now in discussions of what the marketing around that would look like if we listed with them, and working out a plan with them. The other one, we're still in the application, but I think we're about 2 weeks away from them giving us an answer. And again, it'll probably it goes to what the marketing is going to look like. And once both parties agree on the terms around the marketing, it'll then go to a list date. And once we have the list date, I'll be the first one to tell the guys to shoot it out to all you guys. But yeah, to reiterate, I'd love to just be able to drop them, but obviously we respect that they don't like companies mentioning anything until it's official, and it's official with a listing date.
So I know you can't share a listing date, and I know that if the community was sitting in the room for me, they'd put you on a hot seat. And one thing that has always been relayed to the community is Q4. If you had to say a level of confidence that the CEX listing would happen in Q4, how confident are you about that?
In terms of confidence, crypto is one of those things where anything can change, but because we're so far down the pipeline of both these exchanges, I would say that to get on one, I'm 70 to 80% confident before the end of the year. You can hold me to that. I wear that on my skin, but I'm super confident, and we're pushing super hard. All the key indicators of a good project we obviously have. So yeah, like I said, it's coming down just to the marketing terms, and if we can agree on those, we can obviously move towards a listing date.
That's great news, Robert. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's something that people have been talking about a lot throughout, in the community server. In fact, if you search for the term CEX, it comes up. It's mentioned in the server over 1,000 times, and that is 5 times per day. So that's amazing.
Yeah, don't worry. I say it all the time, and it's a hot topic, and like you guys, I'd love to be on it. I'd love to be on it yesterday, but there are processes, and we respect their processes as well, and doing the application the way that they want. Even so, we feel super confident we can deliver from day one. They understand. They've known us for a long time as well. I guess one of the things that came up early days when we were speaking to them was our aggressive kind of unlock period, but we wanted to go hard and shake out weak hands and people that didn't see the long-term vision as fast as possible, and that's kind of that kind of pushed it back a little bit. But now you look at the metrics now, we've got over 10,000 wallets, and with Santa launching and our major campaign to get that from 10,000 to 20,000, it'll be a no-brainer. It'll be hard for them to knock us back.
Yeah, great. All right, so next up we're gonna move on to the topic of Hedera integration, which has been a really hot topic recently in the community because of all the recent movements that happened, especially starting with a community call where Charles mentioned some new developments in terms of Hedera integration and what was happening there. We have a huge presence of Hedera community members in our community, and a lot of members are really very excited about Hedera partnership with Jigstack. In fact, they invested in Jigstack because of Hedera partnership coming up in Q4. Now we know from the recent announcements that probably may not happen in Q4. It is moved on to Q2 because of certain roadmap changes on the side of Hedera. So, Robert, how do you think the company handled this extreme, public outcry in terms of the delay with respect to Hedera integration, and how do you think you'll be handling this sort of issue in the future?
Yeah, great question. First I want to say that we're pro Hedera. We've been since day one. We got them early days. I've spoken to their team over the last 8 months. They're super great. What they're building is amazing. In terms of what happened, I think look, without giving excuses, that day that Charles was on, there was an internal meeting. I just want to give you guys some insight of how things operate. There was an internal meeting about what's best based on Polygon. What's best based on Polygon and the Hedera. Obviously Polygon is super important because of all the gas issues and the complaints we're getting about gas. And just looking at our roadmap and, with the delays of Gallery, we wouldn't be able to squeeze both of them in. Now, in terms of the Q2, obviously that's, they moved to Q2, and we're saying, we're kind of trying to align with them. But, I'm super thinking that we're going to be done by Q1. And this will be something that we'll be working in Q1. I do agree with, how the community is saying, to be someone first is super important. But at the same time, it was a business decision versus, getting our products, working with Polygon to fix some gas issues to help the products we have now versus, building something that, although first, isn't necessarily going to be used until, we catch up with where Hedera is.
So that's good. Yeah, I think I understand that, and it's great to hear from you that we are pro Hedera, and that the future for this integration with Jigstack and Hedera looks really positive, and hopefully we'll see a lot of movement there in recent future. So that's great.
I just wanted to reiterate, Charles, in those conversations, we challenge ourselves, we debate hard, we look at all the pros and cons, and Charles is pro Hedera. Super, and I think a bit of excitement and frustration against the decision by the team to go the avenue of Polygon kind of dripped into his AMA. I don't necessarily think he handled it well. He realizes that as well. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys know that we've kind of understood what happened. Everything's a learning curve for us, and we're putting boundaries and support mechanisms around our team members, so those kind of things don't happen again in the future.
That's great. That's great to hear from you. That you guys have that at least Charles has introspected on that and probably taken some lessons, and the team and the company also has taken some lessons from this episode. I think that really will reassure the community and put some confidence and trust back in. So thanks for taking that, Robert. We'll move to the next one. I think the next one we're talking about Gallery, correct?
Yep. So let's talk about Gallery a little bit. The community was obviously thrilled to have its own NFT marketplace. NFT has been going through an extreme boom over the course of the last few months. And then especially given that it's a huge part of the ecosystem and the benefits to holders with transaction fees going back to Stakbank and going to Burns. There's been messaging regarding the delay due to OpenSea or Polygon or OpenSea's change of auction policies, and a number of other things. So the communication regarding what is actually going on with Gallery has confused a couple people. So maybe you can just take this opportunity to just give us a rundown on what's going on with Gallery.
Yeah, so let's, I'd like to pull it back a little bit with Gallery. So, we got Gallery to a point, where we could take applications, and that was ahead of schedule. The problem was what we faced was, do we launch a platform that can take applications without any auctions coming up? So it's just an empty platform. So that put a little bit more development, a week or two development to get that on. We wanted to have coming soon. We wanted to onboard the artists, and then obviously during this whole period, there were some changes to OpenSea. The lessons learned here is, don't rely on, one of the big dogs, because, things like this can happen and you're kind of in the dark. They're saying they're fixing it, but we don't have a time frame. So, we're working around the same time. Polygon was announced that, they were working with OpenSea, and we're trying to figure out, how we can attach that, because we really wanted, Polygon the first launch with Gallery. But, from the looks of what we've seen, everyone that's is kind of in the same boat that's developing an OpenSea. So, we went again to Sandeep and his team at Polygon and asked them, and they're in the dark as well. They're obviously doing their development side. So, right now we're just going through, the final touch-ups of, fixing whatever's been broken based on the updates to the API of OpenSea. And then, we want to bring some auctions out. Whether or not we'll bring a lot, we still want to bring them out to show, again, similar to Lemonade, to show you guys that it works. And we've already started, working on, moving away from OpenSea for our version 2, which would also include our secondary market. And, from day one, integrate with Polygon and other chains. Hopefully Hedera as well is close around that time, and go with a bigger bang and push there. But I want to reiterate that, we're still looking to do some auctions in Q4. Hopefully, we can get over this last technical hurdle. And then we'll go forward with, just on Ethereum to bring some, some of these NFTs out to show you guys the platform and how it works and how the auctions works and how the revenues come through.
Yeah, so one of the very frequent questions on the same topic, Robert, that people ask is that what's the rationale behind not opting for, or not going full in for your own contract instead of relying on OpenSea? I see that the team has learned the lesson as to not rely on the big boys. But so any rationale or explanation as to why we did not go this route from the beginning?
If we had our time again, obviously we would have gone different. OpenSea was, obviously in a little bit different situation back then when we started developing them. From a gut feel, they obviously, NFTs exploded, and they're a big business. They're obviously OpenSea first, and they've kind of pushed back a lot of the assistance they had for people that were building on OpenSea, because they're obviously bringing in so much activity themselves. So, from a lesson, we would go back and definitely from day one build from scratch, like we built all our projects. Again, we kind of, Gallery kind of came on board as an opportunity to, add on to the suite we had. We don't necessarily want to add on anymore. We obviously want to consolidate and bring users into the products we have. But, NFTs started becoming its own, basic world, which is aligned basically with crypto. So, it was stupid if we didn't. But yeah, if we go back to, we definitely would have, built from the ground up, and we probably would have hit the target. So it's a lesson learned from us.
That's good. And I think that probably would have taken a bit longer in terms of development time as well, right?
Possibly, but if we're talking about where we are now, it could have been close to the same. If I'm talking about going back to, like I said, we could have launched Gallery without any auctions. We added some features so that, you know, people could upload, you know, sneak peeks of what their auctions were, so they could be listed and seen as thumbnails of coming soon. Because we just didn't want an empty platform. So, and then again, you know, with all that, you know, the issues with OpenSea changing the API and, you know, Polygon, you know, the time frame could have been exactly the same. So it's one of those things where, you know, if we had our time again, we definitely would have gone down a different road. But, you know, we're fast, we move quick, and, you know, we don't want to just sit here and lick our wounds. So again, like I said, once we can fix that, we'll run some auctions, because I want you guys to see how everything works while we start building our own platform.
Yeah, I mean, the community was really very excited. I think still that excitement is still in there. We just need to reignite the hype. So really looking forward to, you know, the first few auctions.
Yeah. Well, look, you know, we speak to the artists, you know, quite a lot as well. You know, obviously their frustration, and I totally understand from their point of view, as well as the communities. But you know, they're still with us, and they're still bullish about it. So, you know, the best thing we can do is to get this going. You know, show these guys the platform. You know, have the auctions run, and then, you know, obviously in the background, start planning to build out a bigger weapon to bring out at a later date.
That's great, yeah, and you know, once we get the auctions started, you know, the transaction fees are gonna get you know, added up, and then the portion of those will get burned and sent back to Stakbank. So that leads me to the next topic of Stakbank. You know, you kind of touched a little bit on this already, mentioning that the token burn will happen today, and there'll be more details on that. So just a little bit more on that point. That what is this? You know, how the burn reward distribution actually works in Stakbank from the IDOs.
Yeah, so look, right now, obviously, because you know, it's very small amounts. You know, we're kind of planning to do everything at the end of each month. This being the first month, and then obviously what happens is 80% of the tokens go into Stakbank, and then the 20% of the tokens from the revenues get burnt. So that's kind of how we see it going forward. You know, as we grow, this, you know, we want to put automated mechanisms around things, as well as you know, maybe more frequently, not just at the end of the month, just depending on the volume of revenue coming through. But you know, like, you know, we're obviously at the baby stage right now. But you know, as a standpoint right now, every month at the end of the month there will be a burn.
So for the next ITO, the one that you just announced today, November 25th, we can expect a burn at the end of the month of November?
Correct. It will most likely be the final day of the month. Obviously, we brought it forward. You know, I wanted to be here with you guys to announce it. But you know, it'll be just to keep it so everyone's aware. It would be the last day or the last weekday of the month.
Sounds great. Yeah, it's great to have you know, some expected timeline on things. So that's great to know. Thanks.
No worries.
While we're talking about Stakbank too, we had a couple questions about Jstack. First, people want to know what it is, when they can use it, and how they can use it. And there's a number of people who have been staking since day one, but they're unable to see their Jstack balance. So can you explain more what the idea of Jstack is and why some people are not able to see their Jstack yet?
Yeah, sure. Look, Jstack was, you know, I believe in the, you know, the little guy, the underdog, you know, wherever you are in the world, you know, the great American dream, you know, fighting for his piece of the pie, that kind of mythology. And, you know, like a lot of things, you know, the big whales can come in and, you know, big money and, you know, big tech and the likes dominate, you know, because I wanted to bring something into our ecosystem, you know, that if you showed loyalty and longevity, you know, that could compound you to be, you know, as valuable in the ecosystem as someone, you know, holding, you know, a majority of the, you know, stack tokens or any type of value. And, you know, one of the ways that we see that being used is obviously with our IDO platform. You know, I obviously see a lot of the tier 3 guys, you know, and, you know, sitting there hungry for it. And, you know, some of the tier 3s guys miss out on IDOs. But in the future, if you're a long-term holder, of the equivalent of a tier 3, and you're holding for X amount of period, you will move up with Jstack into the different tiers based on showing your loyalty. In terms of why certain people can't see it, again, that's something that we're obviously trying to fix. With this all hands down wallet, I can assure everyone it's there. And the minute someone has free time, that won't actually be version 2 update. We will make sure certain things like that going forward are hot fixes and are fixed within a reasonable time. Obviously once Wallet and Santa's there and our 4 products are kind of there, everything will kind of change on the way that updates and features come out, and certain bugs and issues will be addressed quite fast. Certain things that could be more superficial or UI UX may be able to be done quicker. We're not just going to sit there and hold it in our back pocket till we bring the next version out. So that next year is all about consolidation and building these products out to be better than what they are. And then with Jstack as well, we're looking at further down the line with Gallery, there's private auctions that are for people that have X amount of Ethereum or a stack or whatever it is that Jstack has value. And the little guy has shown loyalty to us, and be able to get into auctions like that. And another thing is as well, as a metric from an overall business, if we have a whole suite of people showing that they can hold Stack, I want to go after the private rounds with Lemonade. One of the things is, we may not have the big pocket whales that invest X amount every time, but we have a suite of little guys who will stick with you the whole way. And if one dumps, it's not necessarily going to hurt you, but they've all shown based on our metrics that they're long-term holders and loyal to a project.
Yeah, the concept of Jstack is really very interesting. I think that's something that also has attracted a lot of people to the ecosystem. So that's great. I think I really cannot wait to see the full power of Jstack and the full promise behind it. So thanks for answering that. Real quick, Robert, not diving too much into this. Since day one, I've always been really very interested in asking this question to a leader of a cryptocurrency, effort. That how much of attention do you pay to price action on a day-to-day basis, and does it play into your decision making on a day-to-day basis?
Look, obviously because you're so entwined with your community, you hear about it, you know it, and you can't not avoid it. But we're here for the long term, and if the day-to-day price action makes you move or pivot, it's concerning from a business. Also, it's hard to move back with certain changes if you do them based on price action. Obviously, I always want things positive for my investors and my community. But we're talking midterm, long term. I wanted to be here today to show you that there's a team working really, really hard. We want to be here 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. We want your grandma to use it, your sister, your son, your daughter. So we're not necessarily looking at it day to day, but obviously, eventually your commercial value will, kind of match what your price is. We obviously feel that it's undervalued. You could basically do that off any metric we have, products out, amount of wallets, the amount of people staking. These are all metrics that just don't make sense against what the current price is. But again, I'm not here to talk about, price and stuff like that, but just to reiterate that we're not, we're here thinking mid to long term with our decisions. Although, small decisions can have price and such, that's just the world we live in crypto. We're not necessarily too worried on, a day-to-day basis about price action.
Yeah, that's great, and I think I concur with that completely. I think it's important to really focus on the kind of vision and roadmap we have in front of us. And in the case of Jigstack, it's really ambitious one. I think we cannot focus on 40-50% movements happening in each side every single day, possibly. So thanks for answering that. Moving on, we have a quick question on Polygon roadmap and timeline around that. You kind of touched it already a little bit, but if you can, confirm that the current strategy is that we first build all of our major products on ETH, and then we move on to Polygon. So can you tell us a little bit about the plan to move Lemonade Gallery, Stakbank, and JWallet to Polygon, and what is the order, specifically if there is one, and why did you choose this strategy?
Yeah. So obviously, building Ethereum, you got a wider net of, obviously functions and developers you can work with, projects you can, partner with. But obviously, Ethereum has its issues, mainly around the gas. So Polygon has always been, front of mind, as well as Hedera. To be frank, obviously Polygon just works faster in terms of getting onto our products, and then obviously the opportunity to tap into their ecosystem and potentially do IDOs with projects running on Matic. In regards to the order, obviously Wallet and Santa, is priority number one. Like I said, Gallery was originally the first one, but there are some issues that we're working through. But again, if that can be solved, then first in, best dressed. And then obviously I understand the community's kind of concerns about the gas fees around purchasing and then claiming, and obviously want to fix those as well. And then around Stakbank and obviously improving Stakbank as a whole, getting on Polygon, you'll see more people staking for sure. So the goal is to get all of them. Order is really dependent on which one fits in fastest for a development team to sweep on. Like I said, I understand, I see it quite a lot in the community about there's not much coding, but Aiden, our CTO, he is ultra conservative. So even if things aren't necessarily deep code or touching the smart contracts, we still go through a process to make sure whether it's an internal penetration test or a third-party penetration test, that we keep that standard of quality and insurance. So we do need a bit of time, and right now we're just rushing to get Wallet and Santa ready for the big campaign we want to push out for the Christmas period.
Yeah, thanks for that. I know, you touched on so many different things that the community is talking about, especially with those ETH gas fees and being able to do things easily. So it's nice to hear that you guys are thinking about the same things that the community is thinking about. You did touch a little bit on, development and the fact that you want to get everything out, safely, smoothly, securely as possible. And I know that there's a lot going on and a lot of things that are kind of overlapping each other. So the question here is, have you given any thought to adding more resources in development? And then tell us about the development team a little bit, if there's contractors working on development also, and if you have plans to hire any additional developers who specialize specifically in integrations with cross chains like Polygon, Hedera, BSC, Polkadot.
Yeah, great question. Short answer, yes. I've been on a bit of a recruitment blitz. Obviously, what I was doing first, and going back, why I wanted to come after Wallet and Santa, is I've been deep looking, reviewing our last 6 months. What not necessarily always what went wrong, but also what went well, and how we could improve that from a team perspective. I do feel that bringing in another kind of a lead developer to sit with Cowie was key. Just with so many products now being built and to continually improve them. So we're kind of working towards bringing this person on in the next coming weeks. Hopefully next week, if not the week after. And then this guy, like you said, we're obviously looking for people who bring a certain skill set. This guy's resume is unbelievable. He's worked with great projects, not just crypto, but also in tech. So he has that business mindset as well as that crypto mindset, which I think is super important for where we want to go. and obviously he's worked heavily on cross chains with all the major chains that we want to work with, bar Hedera, but he's super excited to learn and help COO, to finalize that. And from there, we also see, building out, where we go with our DAO is also our marketing team. So, I want, a little bit more, like, I think your ambassadors are great. You guys are awesome. You take a lot of heavy lifting off the marketing team, but I think, we're a bit, short there, especially if we build these products out and they have their own channels, their own communication lines. So that's another thing I'm looking at. And then, obviously, if I get resumes all the time, maybe some more full stack developers, with potential skills, maybe someone who's worked with Hedera or, someone who's worked in NFTs. I'm definitely on the scout for those as well. In regards to the team right now, core team would be probably about blown out to 10. And then we've obviously got a good partnership with Ethlink. And they obviously outsource our contractors. So it's not necessarily that they do contract work. They outsource their contractors who come in and work for us internally on a month-to-month basis to help us get products over the line. But as we grow, we obviously will build out the team. It's just kind of like, like any startup, you've kind of got those teething bits. You think you've got everything and then something's missing, and then you fix that and there's something else. And everyone's, I can tell you that the team overstretch, and overlap each other. That's how hard they're willing to work. They don't necessarily say, no, this is just my role, which I love about the team. They're the kind of people I want to work with, and obviously people that are, super passionate about DeFi and DAO and, the vision, and also, super comfortable speaking to the community. And one of the things going forward after this year will be, a lot of, the main team members speaking regularly through Discord or other channels to the ambassadors and the community on a much frequent basis.
Perfect. So that brings us to our last question from the community submitted questions. Real quick to the audience here, guys. This is going to be the last question from our community submitted questions. So please be ready to raise your hands in the event, and be ready for your questions to ask to Robert, and we'll start picking one by one from the list here. So with that, Robert, we hear a lot about the incoming huge marketing push around late November and December, especially around the JWallet and Santa. Can you talk a little bit more about Santa and how you'll be using the influencers, or your network to push the campaign and to get the numbers that you are looking for in JWallet Santa, and also if you can expand a little bit more about your ultimate goal for this product.
Can you hear me? Sorry, I pressed something. So in regards to Santa, Santa's kind of like our Trojan horse. It has the ability. I'd probably use a storyline behind it. We've probably all been in a situation where we've had either a family member or a friend who wants to get into crypto, and it's a timing thing. Based on your availability, and they're sitting down. Show them how MetaMask works, or Trust Wallet, or whatever wallet you're using, and then, obviously then sending funds to them, and what we've seen is, this could be fast tracked or automated with, a gifting solution that, is easy for them to adopt. So the idea is, you can send your family or friends a gift, they receive an email, they have a 2 to 3 step process that's, completely guided of how to set up a wallet. They get to their wallet, and then they have a pop-up that says, verify the email. Once they verify the email, the smart contract realizes, yep, that's where the gift goes, and then sends them the gift. And then, that's obviously the starting point where we want. But then we're working on something that we're calling Stack Academy, which is going to be a whole bunch of tutorials about, everything from, what is crypto, what is DeFi, how do you use your wallet, how do you send a gift. So you can take a lot of the heavy lifting of explaining to your friends and family out of them learning, and let us do it. And then, obviously, we're doing it multi-send. So, think Christmas time, you want to send, 50 of your friends, or let's say 10 of your friends, $50 each, or friends and family, you can put all their emails in, the amount, the token that you want to send it out in, and you click it, and everyone gets sent that email. And then, majority of people, let's be honest, they say free money, they're going to accept it. It's a gift, and then that's how we adopt a new user. But, adopting a new user is one thing, and that's great. That's an extra wallet, and that makes us look good. But we obviously want these guys to then become part of crypto, using, our products, and be recognizing Jigstack as their first touch point into the, into crypto. So that's kind of where I see it. And, the wallet, is obviously going to have other perks going forward, but, with the Santa is really the one to bring in new users. And, we really want to target the people that are, on the fence about crypto or haven't really dabbled in crypto yet. Because they're the next generation of crypto, and having Jigstack as that first touch point of trust is super important for us. Going from there, we're obviously looking at version 2 and version 3 of the wallet, potentially making mobile apps, integrating obviously the privacy tool Milkshake, which you guys obviously voted on, which was great name. I actually love that name as well. So yeah, there's quite a lot of features to go in the wallet. And regarding around the influencers and our networks, is obviously it's just scale. Similar kind of concept, but probably to their fans. Whether or not they run contests or airdrops, they can basically announce competitions at mass, send out X amount to them, whether it's in bulk for them to send to their friends and family. It's just that ability to do that ripple effect in marketing. And really expand that to get as many people as possible. Our target is 20,000 from the campaign. And we're pretty confident. If we can align everything, have the right support around these influencers and the right kind of communication, we can definitely do something special.
That's really exciting, Robert, and the concept of Jigstack. Academy, I think that's something really necessary as well. So really looking forward to that, as well as the marketing push that's going to happen for JWallet. Santa is, I think, the right set of feature to really push for during this festival season. So that's great. I think with that, it's time to move on to our live questions segment. We already have somebody who is requesting to speak to Robert. So shall we go ahead, Rats?
Yeah, absolutely. I see someone with their hand up. Just trying to move them to the stage to be able to ask. Oh, I think I got him there. Hey, Gordon, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
hello, Brian Bourne.
Oh, perfect. Yep. You can call me Brian. That's totally fine. First of all, I really want to thank you guys for taking the time to do this AMA. It certainly builds a lot of trust in the community when it comes to Jigstack, and I certainly do believe in what you guys are working on. And one thing I wanted to ask, and it may have already been covered, but I really enjoy the move when it comes to Santa, making that a first touch point for individuals that are unfamiliar with crypto through a simple email kind of gift. I think that's fantastic. I'm curious about, first of all, I'm assuming that will still be built on Ethereum. And I'm also assuming that there may be gas fees involved in that simple gift. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that, or if the Polygon integration may be able to help with that concept.
Yeah, Brian, great question. We kind of touched on it a bit, but yeah, I'll go back to, obviously we are building on Ethereum, but Polygon integration is super important, especially, if you're sending, little gifts of $30, $40, kind of, defeats the purpose, right? If you're paying that same amount in gas fees to redeem your gift, so you may have a wallet, but you may not have any gifts, and that's a negative kind of feel for your first touch point in crypto. So we're definitely super, cautious about making sure that Polygon's integrated before we do that campaign.
That's fantastic to hear. Thank you, guys. I'm all set on questions.
Yeah, thanks for that. We have Xiao Power. You have a question for Robert?
Oh, hi, can you hear me all?
Yep.
Yep, fantastic. Well pronounced, by the way. Thanks, Robert, for doing this. On the white paper, my brief reading of the white paper, it sort of suggested that the team is looking to only qualify certain IDOs based on if they meet certain parameters, i.e., for example, do they have utility? So my question was, it looks like attempting to gatekeep the launchpad, the Lemonade launchpad, would pose two potential problems. One being you're risking your reputation as being an explorer of projects, deeming them to be credible, and that might not be one of your core strengths as a sort of DeFi developer. And in any case, some of those projects are probably going to fail in the future anyway. And second one, it looks like it's going to be potentially introducing friction to the future target of just being able to onboard lots of different coins across lots of different chains in a quick manner. So my question is, why bother having that internal assessment of projects to see if they qualify for IDOs? And why not just let the community vote in a way so that you can expedite the onboarding of coins in the future? Thank you.
Yeah, great question. So originally, yes, we are gatekeeping. We obviously, being a new product, you want to be super careful of who comes on, basically they have to fit X amount of criteria to, get approval. As we move forward towards further down our DAO, the community will have a say, and then, ultimately the community will have the say. Well, all the stakeholders will have the say. Hello, guys.
Hey, Robert, welcome back.
Hey, welcome back.
Sorry, guys. Being in Bali, you have these little blackouts, so I do apologize.
No worries.
I just going back. I'm not sure if you missed the whole question or half the question.
I think you left off where you were talking about, the voting ability or the ability of the community to one day be able to make decisions on the projects that are launched on Lemonade.
Yeah, so just trying to recap quickly is obviously we are gatekeeping, and we do have criteria that has to be met. This obviously helps us bring in the projects that we feel comfortable with. We also have a select amount of advisors who are quite versed across lots of projects, who also review whether it's the white paper, the tokenomics, the utility, their roadmap, and then kind of help us make a decision. Ultimately we want to then bring in the community as we grow into the next stages of our DAO, whether that's them to contribute to a decision, and then obviously the final step would be for that to become a complete community decision based on voting rights from stakeholders. The other side of it is, with a criteria is, yes, you limit the amount of people that will apply, but obviously it prevents a lot of time wasters in that space. People who are the real deal, who put the effort in to show that they want to, obviously launch their project with Lemonade and obviously have something worth launching. I hope that answers your question.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, I saw that Crypto Knight had your hand up. I just invited you onto the stage, so if you want to ask a question, go ahead and accept that invitation. If anyone else would like to speak to Robert, raise your hand, and we'll invite you up to the stage, and you can ask him anything. I see KM on the stage. Do you have a question?
Yeah, of course I do. Hi, I'll just wait for Kryptonite if he's got any questions to ask. Well, if he doesn't, hi Robert, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good to have you finally here.
Yeah, likewise.
Just a couple of questions regarding how long does it take for you to upgrade products from version 1 to version 2? And do you think we will have all these 4 products on Polygon by the end of the year?
Great question. In regards to further updates, I think I touched on it before. We will look, because of the core of the product's built. we will probably be breaking down to, what are updates that don't touch the smart contract, that don't need to go through a rigorous audit, that could be potentially done within, weeks or a month, versus, the longer term kind of, smart contract development changes that may need to go through an audit and possibly a re-audit. So that's kind of how we see things. We don't necessarily, we may have like a version 2, but it may be a version 2, a version 2.1, a version 2.2, just going from stage to stage to bring out product, because I don't necessarily want to bring out features or hold features back just so we do some big announcement once we get going. I see that, yes, that can build, an amazing bit of hype, but it can also derail what we're trying to build, right? And I just don't want to just build hype around products. I want to build products that work. And in regards, sorry, I forgot your second question.
Yeah, for the Polygon, Stakbank, Lemonade, Gallery, and JWallet. Do you think it's possible to have it by the end of the year? All of them on layer 2?
I would say 3 or 4 is definitely very possible. 4 would be if everything goes well. But obviously Santa and obviously Stakbank would be our priorities if we had to choose. Like I said, if OpenSea can get their act together and they easily show us how to document and develop Polygon onto using their API, we can definitely push that forward. And then Lemonade would probably be the last of the ones, although if it is possible and we have time, we wouldn't just hold it back for the sake of holding it back, and we would push. So I would say we're quite confident 3 or 4.
Nice, good to hear. Thanks for those. And a couple more before we finish off, because I'm sure community wants to hear these too. So since Hedera is next year, would you consider any of the other layer 1 solutions? For example, I know COO is used to work with Solana, as well as he's speaking in Solana Con, and also Phantom is pretty popular. So would you consider adding them before Hedera, maybe by the end of the year?
Yes, I would say out of Solana and Phantom, I'm a big fan of Phantom. But in saying that, obviously Solana, Cowie's experience for Solana, and if we can fit it in, we definitely do. In terms of before Hedera, like I said, Hedera is still heavily on the cards, and the delay was about Polygon, not necessarily let's get others as well, and push Hedera right back. We just need to weigh up what makes sense. Obviously, if we build on, with other chains like Phantom, what does that bring to the ecosystem, revenue-wise, project collabs, features, etc. Because if it's just, because we can build it first and have it, I'd rather put more time in building Hedera quicker after Polygon.
Yeah, it's just because everybody thought that Hedera was moved to quarter 2 because it's not enough decentralized to our liking. So that's why we thought it was moved.
Yeah. I like I said, I'm trying to clear it up as much as possible. Q2 aligns with where Hedera will be more decentralized, and obviously hoping more projects, more capabilities with our products are there for. But in saying that, we still value the ability to be first. And one of the main things was the decision that pushed it back was Polygon. And if we're weighing up being first to Hedera and being there versus our products and the gas issues we're facing, we're obviously going to look after our products and the now products issues people are facing. But in saying that, Solana and Phantom are definitely two chains that we're definitely interested in. I would also say Avalanche as well, not necessarily as hyped as those two, but they're also a great project to work with. But yeah, I would say Phantom would be one that I'd be super interested to get out. I would obviously, like I said, we're all heads down with Wallet and Santa. Once we get a bit of breathing space, we'll see what capabilities we have. And like I said, I understand that, a lot of this integration isn't heavily code-based, but, the way that we, add features and, going forward, we still do rigorous testing and trying to keep that standard as if we were building it again.
Yeah, no, it's just to brainstorm at the same time as we're having an AMA here. What do you think if we would to move Lemonade only smart contracts on Phantom rather than moving all ecosystem?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's
Yeah,
it would probably be right now the product that makes the most sense to move chains is Lemonade, right?
yeah,
You have the ability to obviously get on more projects, and work within those ecosystems is definitely makes sense. It's just a timing thing. We with the wallet and Santa push. And then, once we kind of step up, I've, been briefed on the team at Phantom, and I'm super excited to work with them. Also, Cowie's relations to Solana is a no-brainer for us.
yeah,
We also don't want to take off, our first goal, which was, obviously to be, up there when Hedera starts and being one of the first movers there. So it's a balancing act. We're updating our roadmap. I think that's one thing that hasn't been touched. For Q1 and Q2 as well as finalizing the Q4. So all this will be done before the end of the year. I'm hoping before the end of November. So there's a clear vision of what's getting put in which month and what you guys should be looking forward to.
yeah. Because as you see, it's hard to tell exactly. Let's say Hedera Q1, Phantom December. It's crypto. I understand that's the reason why you can't answer exactly when and what.
Well, it's not necessarily crypto. It comes down to PRDs and resources and time, right? So, you take one thing, you rob Peter to pay Paul, right? So you take from one, you're losing the opportunity to do one. It has to be a balancing act of, what are we developing that are core to the community needs versus what are, our, short to midterm needs. And if we move assets or, team members to those developments, what effect does that have, or does it have any delay on the rollout of the features of products we're doing right now?
Yeah, fair enough. Just a last one. So what is your strategy to catch the market share of the biggest bull run since we ever had so far? And what valuation are you forecasting for the end of the year for Jigstack?
Again, look, with all due respect, I'm not into bull runs, bear markets, and alike. We're here to build products. Our goals are, more mid to long term. For every bull market, there's a bear market. For every bear market, there's a bull market. Obviously, what we can do is, try and stick as hard as possible to what we're trying to develop. And obviously, with Santa and pushing really hard for those exchanges, I'm sure that would, obviously reflect some way. But going down that road and chasing the market conditions is just a very bad decision for a business, in my opinion, and everyone that I've ever worked with in this space.
No, well, all of us, I'm sure, agree with that. But it's just, we know how people are and everyone chasing green candles. But we just want to utilize the chance of, if Bitcoin goes with like 200K, well, I'm just saying numbers, and then utilizing and having some of the market share of those, millions coming as well to the company, which will benefit for the future because you'll have more resources.
Of course. I understand the question and where you're going with it. It's just more. It's just not in our ethos to chase that. Everything we do, we hope, reflects that. I think personally, Jigstack's undervalued based on the metrics. I do understand that there has been, some issues, some confusion that may reflect on why it isn't right now. But we're working hard to, build out 4 products, and to build out 4 products by the end of the year is quite significant achievement. And then on top of that, a massive marketing campaign to build more users and more new users into the crypto space. and then the potential, to partner with, a high-end exchange. Whether that's aligned with, the market conditions, it's hard to say, but, we're always working towards going forward, whether it's bull or bear. And, I just want to reiterate, if it, next year, if things change, it will be the same. We'll still be developing with the same ethos and going as hard as we possibly can.
Yeah, I think that is really the way to go, and I totally support that strategy, Robert. I think market does market things. People buy when they speculate that things are going to go up. They sell when they think things are going to go down, or when they are already going down. So I mean, nobody can influence that. But best we can do is build our product. Make sure people know about it and what utility it brings to them. I think that's what you already have laid down the plan throughout this whole AMA. So thanks for that. I think with that, we have GK here on the stage. Go ahead, GK, ask your question to Robert.
Hey, Robert. Thanks for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it. Just had a question on your thoughts on the upcoming IDO that you just announced today. Are there any plans to increase the allocation for Lemonade? For example, the last two were about 200K total allocation, and the last one was sold out in Tier 2. So are there any plans to increase? Because I think there's enough demand in the community that I think we can take on more allocation amounts. So are there any plans, or just wanted to know what your thoughts are going forward?
Yeah, so a great question. In terms of what an IDO chooses to raise, it's entirely up to them. We can obviously recommend or say our capabilities based on our community, but at the end of the day, it's their decision. And going forward, to look at bigger raises. Again, this comes back to people that are holding Stack, the amount of people that are interested in whitelisting. I know whitelisting has its pros and cons, but it's a good mechanism to show an understanding of how many people are interested in an IDO, and then try and find a pattern or a base or a medium of that kind of amount of people to then either recommend or go after projects that may be at a higher tier, and or push them to go a little bit higher. But at the end of the day, we're not running their business, and this is supposed to become completely DeFi in the future, and it's entirely up to them.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks for the clarity on that. And also, secondly, would you consider doing this sort of Q&A like every few weeks or a month? Because I think it is really helpful to everyone to just get a lot of clarity from straight from the top. So just would you consider doing that once a month or every 2 weeks or whatever it is?
Yeah, so first of all, I just kind of want to reiterate, obviously I am a founder, I built this, I could have easily put my my title as CEO, but I obviously believe in DeFi and having a team that has a strong equal say. So that's kind of why I sit more as the COO. And in saying that, I kind of mentioned it earlier before that core team members will, either myself or people from the development, will be here on a monthly basis. I'm aiming to be back in December. Obviously, if I'm needed, I'll be back further. But obviously, after the fourth product, the idea is to be more community focused, give you guys more of a say, get your feedback, have some brainstorming kind of sessions with you guys, whether it's myself or others, and kind of go into that direction. And that kind of builds into what I was saying about the steps and the criteria that needs to be met for each stage of the DAO, or moving to the next stage of the DAO. So we're definitely putting those things in place.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, GK. For Bizon, how are you? Good morning.
Hello, ciao Robert, it's Fra. I have a few questions. The first one is about the roadmap. You just shared that potentially end of November you will share an updated roadmap, and if you can confirm. Always related to roadmap, if you can share some lights on the DAO roadmap that will come, if you're working on it. And last question, it's about the 5 billion foundings from Hedera? Like if there is any chance that you already looked into it, and if you think it's possible already to leverage some dollars from Jigstack to hire some Hedera developer. Thank you.
Yeah, great questions. Yeah, in terms of the roadmap, obviously, with the gallery and the focus on Wallet and Santa and it getting closer to Christmas, we've kind of pivoted things and the Polygon integration. So I wanted to update what the end of Q4 looks like, and then give you guys a clear Q1 and Q2 kind of outlook of what we'll build. Again, we've learnt from this year, and next year is going to be more about although we will be developing, it'll be more about user adoption, and using the products that we have. So some of the the roadmap will be more around potential marketing efforts, DAO state, different stages of the DAO. And I guess that goes back into your question about the DAO. We're just finalizing. I will have that out by the end of the year. A whole report, like we'll brief you guys on the kind of outlook, the kind of basis of why we're going this route, and then kind of a breakdown of each step and the criteria. In terms of the, I think you're talking about the grants, right? The $1 billion in grants to Hedera. Yeah, we have spoken to them. It's not necessarily, Hedera don't necessarily have developers. They have kind of like advocates who assist, and then they obviously raise funds. We, from day one with Hedera, although we would love the support of financial support like that, we didn't necessarily need it at that stage. That doesn't mean that we may not apply. It's just we're tweaking our roadmap and figuring out where Hedera sits, and if it gives us that acceleration, to say, all right, we can do Hedera in Q1 confidently 80%, but if we could get piece of that pie to assist on whether that's onboarding another developer, we'd obviously do that as well. So yes, to answer that question, we have looked at it, but just haven't followed through right now.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think we have time for about one more person. If you want to come up, this will be your opportunity. While we wait for a chance to see if anyone wants to come up, Robert, do you have any closing thoughts or anything you want to share with the community as your conclusion?
Just more about obviously I'm super heavy focused about going to the DAO and getting to those stages. And one of the first mechanisms that needed to be put in place was an active community who were really pushing either positive or negative towards the team. Constructive criticism is as good as positive news. To really build that base of a debate, that kind of government kind of foundation that we can then obviously see that, all right, there's enough people talking and wanting to put their opinions forward. Now we can start applying some early stage kind of decision making or voting, whether at a social level through Discord, while we kind of build out what our voting platform will look like. Obviously, will it be attached to the staking platform, or will it be its own? I would assume most likely we'll be applying that in Stakbank, and then again, like I said, next year and the end of this year, the team's going to come forward a lot more. We've just been so heads down, making this year a priority about getting as many products as possible. But next year, we obviously want to be more transparent and more open with you guys, listening to your feedback. I think I've said, to you, Gratz, a couple of times, I'm always looking. I know that can kind of look like, just like dust in the wind kind of talk, but, going forward, having more conversations, more AMAs like this, whether it's myself, another team member, or a couple of team members together on a panel, and not necessarily always going around questions about what's going on. We can think about, ideas of what we should do going forward together. That's kind of where I want to get to. And then, just stick with us, like I said, we're a team, we're not going anywhere. We're building for the mid to long term. We want to be here in 10, 20, 30 years, and we're super excited about what the future holds for us.
That's great. I definitely want to thank you. Thank you for giving your time today for this AMA. We had a lot of great community engagement here. I think we had over 90 people in the audience at one time. We had over 50 pre-submitted questions. We had a few live questions also. And it's great some of the announcements that you did. Just to recap something for the sake of the audio here. It looks like we're going to have an IDO at the end of November on the 25th. Sounds like we're going to have our first burn to validate the ecosystem coming up today. And the products are going to be launched, and for one, I'm super excited to see what JWallet and Santa brings. I think that's going to be huge, and I think that's going to be a great short-term win and long-term win as well for the entire project. So thank you, Robert. Stackverse, do you have any final thoughts or anything?
No, I think I completely agree. I think this was a much awaited interaction with Robert, and thanks for taking the time, Robert, to talk to the community. I think the most important part is to bring some clarity from a person who's in one of the core contributor roles like Robert. So I think that's something that we have nailed today. I'm really excited to know what the community's thoughts are. I can already read a lot of comments that people have really very positive experience today from the AMA. So that's great, and we have a ton of positive news too. The upcoming IDO next month, 25th November, and then the burns, and there's some more clarity on the roadmap and the strategy. So that's great to hear. We have somebody here requesting to speak. I think Humble please accept the invite. We can take one more question, then we can close off. Hey, Humble, you're on mute. Please go ahead with the question for Robert.
Hello, how are you all? Thank you, Robert, for a great talk. A lot of misconceptions are cleared. I think now community, can go ahead and, just go through what you have talked and all the positive news. My question is actually regarding team unlocks. Is it possible to? I already appreciate. They are already been delayed to January, February. So, is it possible to delay them until we are sure that we are going through Hedera integration? Thank you.
Yeah, I've been asked this a couple of times. I'm still working with the team. It was obviously agreed upon last time. It made sense. It's obviously buy-in from the whole team. I think the whole team as a whole understands there have been a few clunky things to go on in the end of Q3, Q4. We've also, it's not necessarily that we may not delay it. We may just extend it instead of 6 months to 10 or 12 months. I also want to reiterate that we're also going through a bit of a due diligence with the team around getting these bonuses, and there are certain aspects if they do things untowards to hurt or damage the brand, and that can be putting complete selling pressure or doing something silly. That's automatic termination from that bonus. And then those tokens can be used at a later date. So at the same time, I want obviously people to be rewarded for the hard work, but I want you guys to be sure that the team they're in it for the long haul. Whether or not that gets I want them to have something back, but we'll definitely look at maybe doing longer vesting periods. And like I said, there's certain aspects that if they do something that can jeopardize Jigstack or hurt hurt the brand per se, we're putting in contracts termination of those bonuses.
Thank you, Robert. Very positive views from your side. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Humble.
I see one more person has their hand up, Robert. I don't know. Our recording kind of is only at 90 minutes. I don't know if you want to stick around and continue to answer questions. They just put their hand down. Well, I guess if there's no more questions and they put their hand down, again, thank you for the time, and thank you to the community for coming out and making this a successful AMA. And I look forward to the future.
Yeah, thanks. Obviously to the community, and obviously you guys as well. Super respect what you guys are doing, and the community should be super excited and grateful for you guys kind of being that kind of middleman between the team and them, and helping bridge that gap between team and community. And I look forward to obviously speaking to you guys more and working with everyone going towards our vision together.
Yeah, thank you so much, Robert, for taking the time. Thanks again to all the audience, everybody who asked the questions. Until next time.